Hey everyone, I'm Adrian from Game Reviews Malaysia and welcome to our second video about Star Wars The Old Republic as promised, and we'll be looking at some of the major issues with the game that long-time players are facing. If you've not watched part 1 where we talked about 10 reasons for newer players to play Star Wars The Old Republic, you can click the video on the screen right now or check out the link in the description box below. With that said, let's begin. At number 4, Cartel Packs of The Old Republic. If you've been around long enough, you'll know that BioWare takes the development of Cartel Packs pretty seriously, going above and beyond to introduce new themed packs, outfits, weapons, customization, etc. as soon as possible. So why is this an issue? The general consensus seems to be that existing content within the game is getting stale, and the devs are prioritizing Cartel Packs over content. And even recently, they came up with a new way to experience the opening of packs, instead of focusing on raids or new multiplayer content. Seriously. The bigger problem here is that BioWare are only doing what they think the player base wants, which also means players are buying them. They make a lot of money from these packs and will continue to put out more if the player base keeps buying them. At number 3, heavy single player and new player focus. Knights of the Fallen Empire is a superb narrative-driven experience in Star Wars The Old Republic, and we highly recommend it to anyone, but the issue remains that it's primarily a single player focused experience in a game that launched as an MMO. It's impossible to play through Knights of the Fallen Empire as a group, and if you want to duo it with a friend, it's a pain in the neck as you'll have to play through each mission twice, once for each player. This sucks the life out of the MMO aspect of playing Star Wars The Old Republic after the class stories. Anyone remembers the Elder Scrolls Online when it first launched? This is certainly comparable to that, especially if you want to play with a friend. A similar complaint we found is the direction to cater more towards bringing in newer players rather than rewarding the long-time loyal players. Now, bringing in new blood is always a good thing, but it shouldn't be done at the expense of the current player base, majority of which are your subscribers. The current Dark vs. Light event is a good example of this, as it rewards players who've created a new character during this event with a whole bunch of goodies after grinding through all the existing content. Longtime players who have been doing the content for years on multiple toons are feeling extremely let down that they have to put in the extra effort and get a new character slot just to churn through the same rehashed content again. At number 2, no more class stories. The class stories in SWTOR are some of the best content in the game, but existing players have of course been doing them over and over for almost 5 years. There's only so many times one can play through their favorite class stories before getting burned out. This becomes more of an issue since Knights of the Fallen Empire, which follows a singular narrative that's forced on all players regardless of your class or allegiance. Players now don't have much options but to experience a forced solitary story, ignoring most of the consequences from choices made during the class stories. To help players reduce this repetition, BioWare needs to branch the class stories out further so we can see the development of who we are and what we've become. This should be done in parallel to the stories taking place in Knights of the Fallen Empire and in the coming Knights of the Eternal Throne. This will no doubt give players more incentive to subscribe, as the newer class stories should offer more freedom of choice compared to what's on offer with Knights of the Fallen Empire. However, this will consume huge amounts of time and resources, which could take precious development time away from other areas that need attention. It's really a matter of if they can do it and not when. At number 1. Lack of new content. More specifically, group content. This is the number 1 issue we've seen in SWTOR, and the endgame community is doing its very best to make their voices heard. It's been a long time since players have seen a new operation, aka a raid, in the game. Knights of the Fallen Empire launched last year and it introduced more difficulty options for all existing flashpoints and ops. It also introduced one new flashpoint. I repeat, 1 4-player group dungeon. 1. I'm sorry, but that's just not good enough for an MMO of this scale in terms of player base and IP. There's an old MMO saying that players consume endgame content faster than the developers can make them, and it's a fact. It's part and parcel of the MMO lifecycle. Launch, introduce new PvE content, rebalance the classes, work on PvP, rinse and repeat. The top MMOs out there are consistently delivering new group content to keep hold of their raiding player base, and we fear that the way BioWare is putting its focus on everything else except the endgame will only further alienate the endgame community, leaving them no other choice but to look for alternatives. And that concludes our list of 4 major issues with Star Wars The Old Republic. I'm sure you're dying to tell us what we've missed, so please leave your opinions in the comment section below. Do give us a thumbs up if you like our content, and do subscribe to us for more on MMOs and game reviews. Once again, I'm Adrian from Game Reviews Malaysia, and we thank you for watching.